Well, the Senate is set to take up President Obama's very controversial tax cut compromise on Monday. Republican Senator John McCain says he's behind the bill, but he's not happy about all the pork barrel spending that's going on. I sat down for an exclusive interview with the senator just moments ago. Thanks for joining us, Senator. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
You know, obviously, that the president really believes that this tax cut compromise is the best deal that he thinks he can get. But why do you think Republicans have to sign on to this? Do they underestimate the leverage that they have on getting a deal done?
I'm not sure how much leverage that Republicans have, although we have certain significant leverage because of the elections. I didn't like some of these extenders, but remember, most of these, if not all, were existing tax breaks. Now, I've been an opponent of ethanol forever. I went and campaigned in Iowa and lost in Iowa against campaigning against ethanol subsidies. They're an outrage and an incredible waste of taxpayers' dollars. But I think the key to this really is not so much the compromises that were made on the tax extenders, but what will we do on the continuing resolution, in other words, keep the government in operation until sometime next year. Now, the message of the election was stop the spending. Now, what I'm hearing now, with the aid of a few Republican senators, we may see one of these omnibus appropriations bills loaded down with earmarked pork barrel spending. People will be outraged. That means that the election has fallen on deaf ears. What we should have is what we call a clean CR, a clean continuing resolution. Keep the government functioning at present levels, add no additional spending for 45 days, and then let the new Congress decide as to how we should fund the government from then on. That is the best way to do it. Senator Gregg has introduced exactly that, and a lot of us are supporting it. And I'd like to look you in the eye and tell you that all Republicans are supporting it. They are not. There are Republican senators, Democrat senators, and appropriators. And we cannot let the appropriators continue what they've been doing, which has been soundly rejected on November the 2nd.
What about on the tax cut issue, on the compromise in and of itself? Why not just let the Bush-era tax cuts expire, start all over again, let taxes go up, and then let the Republican majority that we'll see on the House side and the growing number of Republicans on the Senate side do business and start from the ground up again?
I worry a great deal if we did that, about the uncertainty and what that would do to the markets and what that would do to small businesses and large. Right now, as you know, companies large and small are sitting on huge amounts of money because they are uncertain about what their fiscal future will be. Will there be taxes? Will there be not? What there be? At least this will give them some certainty going into the new year as to exactly what the parameters are. And when you really look at it in the long run, at the end of the day, you would have to say that our agenda succeeded. Look at the reaction by the Democrats in the House and other liberal members of the United States Senate. Would I have written it differently? Yes. But I think at the end of the day, we should vote this up, but most importantly, look at the spending bill that's going to be coming up right on the heels of this tax bill.
I mean, you talk about small businesses. I mean, we're talking about 2 years extending the Bush tax cuts, but for many businesses,
also have a payroll tax cut.
You do have that too, but yes, it's very difficult for businesses to plan for the 2 years. They're looking more for long term, and so. Yeah. Trying to figure this out, given what's in front of them, is still going to be very difficult.
I think we can show them that by extending what has already been in for 10 years, for 2 more years, that they can probably be pretty certain that there's not going to be additional, that those tax cuts will be extended, especially when you look up at the makeup of Congress. We're going to have 63 new Republican members, as you know, and 6 new Republican senators, all of whom are fiscal conservatives.
What about those who are saying the president is pulling a fast one by saying that this compromise is really, you know, a tax cut when in essence it's disguised as a stimulus plan, $1 trillion stimulus plan to be exact?
There will be some stimulative effect, but you know, I guess it was my old beloved friend Marsh Udall said, the politician's prayer is, may the words I utter today be tender and sweet because tomorrow I may have to eat them. We're seeing clips all over the place. We can't extend these tax cuts for the rich people, you know, all of the clips we've seen of the president. Look, we have sent the message, we will not increase people's taxes. We will try to find ways to relieve the burden. For example, on the payroll tax cuts, I would have liked to have seen them for both for employer and employee. And we could have paid for them, by the way, I think. That's another thing that's disappointing about this. We should have found ways to pay for most of these tax extenders.
So in the end, do you think we're going to get something through? Do you think they're actually going to come up with a compromise?
I think the extenders will probably pass with some difficulties. But I think what we should be focusing on, if we are really fiscal conservatives, is what we do with this, quote, continuing resolution. Already I'm hearing they're loading it up with earmarked pork barrel projects, which is, believe me, corruption. I have seen it, and we can't continue that.
It's an ominous sign for the future, certainly when you still see this kind of thing happening over and over again, business as usual in Washington.
Well, let me just say this to you, and I've said it before. Unless we satisfy the message of this last election, you will see the rise of a third party in the United States of America.
Really?
I believe that.
Because?
Because the majority of the American people believe we haven't responded to the message. Stop the spending. Keep the taxes low. End the corruption. Have some fiscal discipline and start making some tough decisions about this debt that we have laid on every man, woman, and child in America, not only for this generation, but for future generations. Americans get it. The question is, does the Congress get it?
All right, Senator McCain, thank you so much for joining us today with your insights. We appreciate it very much.
Thanks for having me on.